Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into what is arguably the single most important tool in any clinical microbiology lab, the microscope. It's our window into the invisible world of pathogens, and truly mastering it is the absolute key to getting an accurate diagnosis. You know, the biggest challenge we face in microbiology really just comes down to a problem of scale. We're dealing with a huge range of pathogens, everything from tapeworms that can be meters long all the way down to viruses that are just a few nanometers wide. So the big question is, how in the world do we even begin to see this vast unseen world? Well, the answer, of course, is microscopy.
So, here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the scale of these microbes. Then, we'll cover the core principles of microscopy. After that, we'll take a close look at the light microscope and some specialized techniques. And we'll wrap up by seeing how it all comes together in clinical diagnosis.
All right, let's jump right into our first section. It's so important to get a real feel for the incredible scale of the microbial world that we're up against. This right here really highlights the mind-boggling range of sizes we're talking about. Bacteria, are typically just a few micrometers across. Fungal hyphae are a little bigger. But viruses, they are on a whole other level, so much smaller, measured in nanometers. And then, at the complete opposite end of the spectrum, you have parasites that go from microscopic protozoa all the way to worms that can be several meters long. This incredible diversity is exactly why we need a whole arsenal of different microscopic tools. So, how do these amazing instruments actually work? Let's break down the key principles that let us visualize these tiny organisms. These are basically the fundamental rules of seeing at the microscopic level. Okay, first up is the one everybody knows, magnification. It's a pretty straightforward concept. It's just the ability of the lenses to make an object look bigger than it actually is. And in a compound microscope, calculating the total magnification is super simple. You just multiply the power of the objective lens you're using by the power of the ocular lens, which is the eyepiece you look through. But here's the thing, magnification is completely useless without our second principle, resolution. Resolution is all about clarity. It's the ability to see two very close together objects as two separate things. This is what lets a microbiologist confidently tell the difference between the paired cocci of Streptococcus pneumonia and the long chains of Streptococcus pyogenes. I mean, you can magnify a blurry image as much as you want, but without good resolution, you're never going to see those critical details you need for a diagnosis. This table really drives home the power of good resolution. Our own eyes, at their best, can distinguish things down to about 200 micrometers. A standard light microscope improves on that by 1,000 times, getting us down to 0.2 micrometers. But then, an electron microscope takes another gigantic leap, resolving details down to half a nanometer. That is literally the difference between seeing a cell and seeing the individual molecules on its surface. It's incredible. And our final key principle is contrast. This is the difference in brightness between your target and its background. Most microbes in their natural state are basically transparent. It's like trying to find a clear piece of glass in a bowl of water. That's exactly why something like the Gram stain is so foundational in microbiology. By staining the bacteria, we create this beautiful, stark contrast that makes them just pop right out from the background, letting us see their shape and how they're arranged. Okay, so with those three principles, magnification, resolution, and contrast firmly in mind, let's take a look at the instrument that puts them all to work, the compound light microscope. This is the true workhorse of any clinical lab. Let's actually follow the journey of the light. It all starts at the light source, right? Then it's focused by the condenser lens right onto our specimen. From there, the light passes through the specimen to the objective lens, which creates the first magnified image. And finally, the ocular lens, or eyepiece, magnifies that image one more time, delivering the final picture that we see. But, the standard bright field microscope can't do everything. It definitely has its limits. So now, let's explore some specialized techniques that let us see microbes in completely new ways and solve some really specific diagnostic puzzles. This is a great comparison right here. So in your standard bright field, the specimen looks dark against a bright background, which is perfect for looking at stained samples. Dark field microscopy completely flips that around. It uses a special condenser to block the central light, so only the light that's scattered by the specimen actually makes it into the objective lens. And the result? The organism glows, shining brightly against a pitch-black background. This is incredibly useful for seeing really thin, unstained bacteria like spirochetes. Another really brilliant technique for looking at living cells is phase contrast microscopy. It's pretty clever. See, as light passes through a cell, it gets slowed down just a tiny bit by denser parts inside the cell. Our eyes can't detect these little shifts in the phase of light, but a phase contrast microscope can. It converts those invisible phase shifts into visible differences in brightness. This lets us see all sorts of intricate internal structures in living, unstained cells in real time. And now, let's talk about one of the most powerful diagnostic techniques out there, fluorescence microscopy. This whole setup is engineered to do one very specific thing: hit a specimen with one color of light, and then collect the different color of light that it spits back out. So here's how it works. You have a high-energy light source that passes through something called an excitation filter, which picks out just the right wavelength. That light hits your specimen, which has been tagged with a fluorescent dye. The dye absorbs that energy and then re-emits light at a longer, visible wavelength. A second filter, the barrier filter, blocks out all of that original excitation light, so the only thing you see is the specific glow coming from your target. It's incredibly specific. But to see the really small stuff, we're talking individual viruses or the fine-grained ultrastructure of a cell, visible light just won't cut it. The wavelength is too long. For that, we have to enter the realm of electron microscopy. And these things are incredible, sophisticated instruments that use beams of electrons instead of beams of light. I mean, just look at this comparison. It's not even close. A light microscope tops out at around 1,500 times magnification. An electron microscope, it can go over 100,000 times. And the resolution, well, it's a quantum leap, from 200 nanometers all the way down to less than 1 nanometer. And this is all possible because electrons have a much, much shorter wavelength than visible light. Instead of using glass lenses to focus light, it uses these powerful electromagnets to focus the electron beam, creating these images with just unparalleled detail. Okay, we've covered the principles, we've looked at the tools, now for the most important part. How does all of this actually translate into answers for patients? Let's look at microscopy's role in the clinic. In the real world of a diagnostic lab, these different microscopes are absolutely essential frontline tools. They're what give us rapid, accurate identifications of pathogens, which in turn guides critical treatment decisions for patients every single day.
And here's where the rubber meets the road. You can see how this entire toolkit is applied in practice. Bright field is your go-to daily workhorse for things like a gram stain. But if a doctor suspects syphilis, the lab might switch over to dark field to hunt for that tricky spirochete. For looking at living parasites from a stool sample, phase contrast is perfect. For a super-fast, highly specific ID, you can use fluorescent antibodies to make a particular pathogen light up like a Christmas tree. And for that deepest possible dive, like into viral structure, the electron microscope gets the call. It's all about picking the right tool for the job. So, what's the big takeaway from all of this? Well, mastering these principles and techniques isn't just some academic exercise. It is absolutely fundamentally essential for anyone working in clinical microbiology. This is the skill that everything else is built on. It underpins accurate diagnosis and truly effective patient care. And that brings us to a final, really interesting question to think about. In this new era of rapid molecular tests and ever-increasing automation, what is the future, irreplaceable role of the skilled microbiologist, of that trained human eye looking through the eyepiece of a microscope? It's definitely something to consider.